What is going on, Dragon Ball fans? Welcome back to another Dragon Ball fan manga breakdown review, where today we're going to be reviewing the fan manga entitled Dragon Ball Super EX, which is a fan-made Dragon Ball manga set to take place after Dragon Ball Super's Tournament of Power. As for many years now, I've been reviewing and introducing all kinds of Dragon Ball fan mangas to the world created by the community for the community, so if you guys are interested in seeing and reading up on incredible stories and concepts such as Dragon Ball AF, Dragon Ball Legendary, Dragon Ball New Age, Dragon Ball X, and many others, then feel free to check out the Dragon Ball fan manga playlist in the description box for more videos such as this, as right now we are going to be diving into a brand new manga chapter. As before we begin, if you are new to this channel, hit that subscribe button and turn on all notifications to be the first to know when a new video is posted onto this channel. And if you guys have not done so already, be sure to go on ahead and check out Dragon Ball Super Kakumei, which is another Dragon Ball manga that takes place after Dragon Ball Super's Tournament of Power, which introduces new gods, new angels, and the inevitable rematch between Ultra Instinct Goku and Beerus, so be sure to go on ahead and check out parts 1 and 2 on the channel, in which the links to both of those manga chapters will be located down in the description box below, as we kick off Dragon Ball Super EX manga chapter number 1 inside of Universe 6. Now, somewhere traveling in deep space, we see a spaceship begin to hover over a planet. As the narration goes on to state, Bleed-sama, I am told that this is planet Earth. As inside the spaceship, a mysterious figure begins to speak, and quoting, there is probably little value within it. However, the Dragon Balls slumbering within its depths speak a different truth. As we begin to see henchmen of some sort and having to reply by saying whatever kind of earthlings we encounter, it can't be forgotten that there are 4 Saiyans among them. They have very good defense because of that, as we pan on over to a mysterious figure who ominously looks more like Frieza, and replying by stating, at best those peons have a measly power level of 10,000. You all will have no trouble suppressing the rebel scourge, correct? As all 3 henchmen collectively reply by saying no, Bleed-sama. As one of the henchmen goes on to state, should we call Frost-sama to assist us in our search for the Dragon Balls? As quickly Bleed replies by saying no need. That guy fought against the rebels of that lowly galaxy. His miscalculation caused him to suffer such a disgraceful defeat. Glory is the only thing that matters in this family. Anything less dirties our name. Frost is still severely lacking, which we've come to find out that in fact Bleed is in fact directly related to Frost. As we kick off the manga chapter, we get to see firsthand how it looks like a robbery is taking place somewhere on the Universe 6 planet, as the narration goes on to state Universe 6 is Earth, the Western capital, as one of the criminals goes on to state, yo, listen up, I don't want to have to kill this woman, so quiet down and hurry up and give me the damn car. You better not stall, as one of the residing police officers goes on to state this situation has already turned into an abduction, as instantly without a notice we see how an energy blast hits the gun away from one of the criminals, as Cabba swoops in and saving the female that was held hostage. It's there that we see Cabba holding a Saiyan scouter, as he goes on to state, how reprehensible, such a cowardly act of violence. As the female begins to cheer, everyone seems to be very happy that Cabba-san has arrived, but the criminal isn't backing down, as he goes on to state, whoever hit me, come over, bam. As quickly as the criminal was speaking, he gets taken down from behind, and it looks like someone who oddly enough resembles that of Goku begins to emerge and saying, Cabba-san, good work, as Cabba acknowledges the individual by stating, that's Ninjin. Huh? What's that you're holding in your hand? As Ninjin replies by saying, this. I picked it up while I was patrolling the 4th district, and it looks to be that of a Dragon Ball. As Cabba walks over, he goes on to state, let me see that. As Ninjin hands it over, Cabba goes on to state, I knew it. That little thing is a Dragon Ball, and Ninjin's like a Dragon Ball, and Cabba goes on to explain the Dragon Balls are created by Namekians, and if you find all 7 balls, you would be able to have any wish you desire be granted. And at this point, Ninjin looks down and saying, whatever wish you desire, That's really amazing, although if that news were to be spread, it might cause a lot of bad guys to come after them, as Cabba goes on to state that's true. If that's the case, then we need to make sure to keep all of them safe. As Cabba taps onto his Saiyan scouter and stating, Kadai, Gurens, were you listening? As oddly enough, 2 Saiyans that look like Nappa and Vegito respond in saying, yeah, Cabba-san, as the individual who resembles that of Nappa goes on to state, we heard everything. Wouldn't the best place to safeguard those things be on planet Sadai? Sadala? As Cabba goes on to reply by stating that's not actually a bad place to go for safeguarding things. Let me check it out first. I trust that all three of you will wait here until I return. As all three of the Saiyans acknowledge Cabba by stating yes sir, Cabba gets within his Saiyan space pod and he begins to head over to planet Sadala. Now we've come to learn that of course with these Dragon Balls, not only is Cabba taking an interest in trying to protect them, but it also looks like now Bleed has taken a huge interest in collecting them. As Cabba sits within his space pod, he goes on to state through the power of the Super Dragon Balls, Earth was suddenly returned from being nothing more than a page in history. We Saiyans are actually the only ones that know about the awful truth. As Cabba goes on to state there was a time where it was devoid of hope, but in our hands it became so beautiful, something worth protecting. As Cabba looks on over by his window, he sees a mysterious ship fly past him. As both Cabba and Bleed inside of their own residing ships begin to feel one another out. As Cabba places his hand over his chest, he goes on to state that key, was it Frost? To such a feeling of dread, it's astonishing. I have a bad feeling about this. As one of the henchmen inside of Bleed's spaceship goes on to state that was most likely a Saiyan pod, correct? As another henchman replies by stating, shall we shoot it down now just to be sure? As Bleed goes on to state, don't fire. Set course for planet Sadala after we're done here. Sadala will be the next planet to invade after Earth. That seems like a better time in regards to our plan. Understand this well. It doesn't matter how many people they use, our only focus shall remain on the Dragon Balls. Meanwhile, back on planet Sadala, we see how Cabba finally arrives at the Sadala castle. And as Cabba emerges, we see how someone cries out, Cabba-sama, as Cabba replies by saying, yo, I would like to see the king. As one of the authority figures goes on to state, yes sir, please come this way. And inside of the Sadala palace, we see how Cabba awaits for the Sadala king within the audience chamber. As Cabba goes on to state, King Sadala, I have returned with a report. As a very similar individual who looks just like Vegeta only with a mustache, who is hailed as King Sadala, goes on to state, well, good to see you back and you already have something to report. Good job. I can read your face clearly. It's not good, isn't it? As Cabba stands up and saying, I'm just a laborer, so your words are very kind, sir. The thing is, I took this ball here to protect it until it's safe to return it. As King Sadala looks down, he goes on to state there's no mistaking it, that's a Dragon Ball. I'm assuming this is from Earth, correct? As Cabba goes on to state, yes sir. As we see King Sadala hold on to the Dragon Ball and stating, very good job, Cabba. You see, as soon as you left Earth, Ninjin's men reported that a certain space pirate ship was landing there. As Cabba goes on to state, you can't mean that space pirate, can you? As King Sadala goes on to state, after that their communication was suddenly cut off. However, their scouters clearly picked up the phrase, do you know about the Dragon Balls? As perhaps their main goal is perhaps to use the Dragon Balls in order to make a wish. All the data I've seen suggests that Earth would be in grave danger if that happens, implying that once Cabba had left Earth and the minute he crossed that spaceship, it just so have happened that that exact same spaceship is the spaceship responsible for his men not responding. As Cabba replies by stating there's no way that Ninjin and everyone is, are you sure you couldn't have heard anything wrong? As King Sadala goes on to state, I'm sorry. Would it upset you if I sent you away so soon after arriving? The best person to help them would be a Super Saiyan, such as yourself. As Cabba responds by saying, of course, I will go, sir. I will protect Earth. It's a part of my pride as a Saiyan. As we see Cabba take off, King Sadala replies by stating, I knew I can rely on you, Cabba. As back over on Universe 7, somewhere on Earth, we see how Gohan, Krillin, Piccolo, everyone seems to be hanging out having a good time, as Goku goes on to state to Krillin, I don't mind doing that, but it's been so long since we've been camping together. As Krillin goes on to state, I guess you're right about that one, but maybe, it's because you just took so long to return from planet Namek. You only just got back. As Gohan goes on to state, yeah, and having all of us together like this is really nostalgic. The last time we tried really turned into a disaster. Cooler and his men attacked everything and it was ruined even though he didn't succeed. As Piccolo smiles and stating, Cooler, haven't even thought of him since then. As Krillin goes on to state, at that time, I really thought I was gonna die. As he pats Goku on the back and stating, but this time we have Goku here. You can even reach Super Saiyan Blue, which would make those guys an easy walk in the park now. As Gohan goes on to state, well, be careful, it's going to make something bad happen if we talk like that. As Krillin replies by saying, ain't that right? What if we come across some guys that we don't even stand a chance with? As Krillin goes on to once more state, but no one in the world can surpass you and Vegeta. Well, except for maybe Beerus, as Vegeta responds by saying Beerus has already decided not to destroy this place. He quickly started treating this planet differently because of the food. As everyone gathers together, all of a sudden people begin to hear the voice of Bulma. As Krillin goes on to state, I almost thought I heard Bulma's voice for a second there. As Bulma and Chi-Chi emerge, she goes on to tell Krillin, of course it's my voice. I was called out here by Whis. As Krillin goes on to reply by stating he made you and Chi-Chi buy stuff for us? Good work, you guys. And Bulma's like, right now, it looks like Beerus-sama is having his little nap. As Goku becomes very curious by stating, but why? I mean, Whis-san could have just easily transported you here. Out of nowhere, we see how immediately 2 Kaioshins arrive bearing that of Cabba on their shoulders. Goku, Vegeta, Gohan, Yamcha, Piccolo, Krillin, everyone acknowledges this by looking behind Goku's shoulder. And there we see a very battle-damaged Cabba hovering over the Kaioshin's shoulders. As we see a battle-damaged and bloody Cabba acknowledge Vegeta in stating, Master Vegeta, everyone. And Bulma's like, you're, as Cabba lands down, he goes on to state, you guys. And Goku's like, whoa, what the hell is going on? Piccolo responds by saying, the Kais from Universe 6 are here. I mean, what brought you here? As the Kais goes on to say to wait, before anything else, we have to heal him. As the Kaioshins heal Cabba, Cabba opens his eyes, he slowly sits up, and as he stands out, Cabba cries out, shit! And transforms into a Super Saiyan 2, letting out a frightful, vengeful cry that even startles Goku and Krillin. Krillin goes on to state, whoa, as Cabba comes crashing down to his hands and knees and stating, bullshit! Angry, frustrated, sad, as Vegeta hovers over and saying, why don't you explain to everyone what's going on? As Cabba looks up, he goes on to state, Master Vegeta. As Vegeta goes on to state, after all, it must have been a powerful enemy, right? To get these guys involved especially. As one of the Kaioshins goes on to state, these guys? We are the Supreme Kais, so watch your tongue. As Bulma responds by saying, while I realize this may be a bit trivial, I would appreciate it if you could explain why Cabba-san is actually here. As one of the Supreme Kais goes on to state, well, our universe is, and Cabba cuts him off by saying, so Supreme Kai, please, allow me to explain. Because of the wish Beerus-sama made at the tournament, the beautiful Earth of our universe was revived. And because that Earth is exactly like this one, the Dragon Balls were revived as well. As we have a bit of a flashback as to what exactly happened on Earth, we see Cabba's Saiyan allies on Earth looking up at the sky and stating, what? Brother, can you hear me? This key, it's monstrous. As one of them goes on to state, yes, Ninjin, I'm going to try to suppress this bad feeling it's giving me. As Gurens goes on to state, heads up, it looks like it's coming straight here. Nijin, Gurens, hurry up and gather at the landing site now. As all 3 Saiyans begin to gather together, they begin to realize that this might not be as easy of a fight as they expected to be. As one of them goes on to state, here they come. As finally, at long last, the spaceship lands in silence. As all 3 of them agree to move forward, we see how they begin to look over the horizon as they look down on the ship that has landed. And it's because of this we see a barrage of people begin to emerge from the ship as they begin their search for the Dragon Balls. Nijin goes on to state a lot of people are coming out, and we see how the henchmen seem to be just standing there looking upon their own men having to fly around and stating, wait, what in the world is going on here? Why are they all flying around like that? As Nijin goes on to state, so no one else came out of there, but those 2 people. Their fighting power is at least 500,000. As one of the Saiyans goes on to respond by saying, well, there's 3 of us, but this could still turn out pretty bad. As out of nowhere, a voice cries out, oh wow, you guys happen to be Saiyans. As instantly we see our heroes turn around as one of the henchmen goes on to reply by stating, so, you were trying to hide back here, weren't you? As all 3 Saiyans synchronize their movements, one of them goes on to state, this guy's, how could we just let him sneak up on us like that? As the henchman replies by saying, whoopsie, now, if you guys don't want to die here and now, you'll want to listen to what I have to say, as all three of the Saiyans are like, what? What the hell do you want? As the henchman replies by saying, do you know about the Dragon Balls? As all three Saiyans are taken back, as the Vegeta looking character goes on to state, I don't know, I never heard of them, as the henchman replies by saying, huh, figures some idiot monkeys wouldn't know anything, right? Oh well, I guess I could just overlook this if you kids just leave now. As Gohan goes on to state, what did you just say? With the henchman replying and stating, I'm just being really nice here. I'll handle you guys later while I clean up everything else, which includes bringing this earth into ruins. And the first person immediately to take action upon hearing this is Jiren, as he goes on to state, don't take us so fucking lightly, as he charges in, but instantly the henchman goes on to reply by saying, oh, his power level suddenly exploded, and that's when the fight begins. And what's really cool about this is seeing how these Saiyans are trying to protect Earth by any means, as they're trying to cover up the idea of them knowing about the Dragon Ball, but instead, they don't want to hand it up. They don't want to disclose that information, especially if it means paying the price in losing planet Earth. And as Jiren tries, we see how he goes on the attack, but the henchman goes on to state, what's wrong? Is this all you have? I mean, you only have the power of a monkey bastard that you are, you can't hit me. And that's when he goes on to state, shut the hell up, but then the henchman catches Jiren with a ferocious right hook to the face, as out of nowhere we see how the other henchmen begin to appear in stating, oh, that settles it, as the henchmen appear in taking down the Saiyans individually one by one. And it seems to be very hopeless, as one of the Saiyans blows away the henchman's head, but then as quickly as he took off his head, the henchman regrew it. As they begin to beat our heroes down, the only other person that's observing this is the Nappa looking character, as he's observing his friends get beat down, but then out of nowhere he spots that one of the other henchmen begins to shoot directly at him. And while all of this is happening, we see how Cabba's space pod is desperately racing to Earth, and Cabba is desperately trying to figure out what exactly happened to his friends. As he finally lands on Earth, he goes on to state, this is bad, 3 keys are just dwindling fast. What's going on? As Cabba sprints into action, he makes the claim in stating they're coming from this direction, and once he gets there, he finds all 3 of his friends beat down into the ground. As Bleed's henchmen go on to state these guys were small fry, but I guess they were just an okay warm-up for now, as one of the henchmen charges up a massive energy blast and stating, well, time to get rid of all of you at once. When then, out of nowhere, he goes on to state, what is this reading? This power level, it's 5 million, no, 10 million, and it's rising. Who's there? Where are you? As the scouter breaks, we see how energy blasts go hurtling up through the sky, and it knocks out 2 of the henchmen, missing the leader. And as the leader avoids the energy attack, he looks on down and he notices a pair of feet land next to the 3 Saiyan bodies, which then we see Cabba transform into a Super Saiyan 2, which, may I add, looks incredibly awesome, as Cabba goes on to state, are you ready, you bastard? As the henchman goes on to state, what the? It's just the Saiyan, but it's different. No, there's no way your power level is 10 million. The scouter was malfunctioning. Well, all 4 of you just disappear together. As he launches the blast directly towards Cabba direction, and this personally reminded me so much of Cell vs. Gohan, as immediately as the blast is coming down at Cabba, Cabba puts his hands together and goes on to state, the one disappearing as he charges up for a Galick Gun. He finishes off by saying, will be you, as he fires off a massive Galick Gun-like attack in the air that went through the energy ball that the henchman had thrown, indirectly overtaking him in the sky, completely killing him off instantly, which I really enjoyed, considering the fact that now that all 3 of them are dead, the only other person remaining now is Bleed, who is located within the ship itself. Now, as Cabba begins to look on over by his friends, he goes on to state, you 3, are you ready? As they begin to stand up, beaten and battered, they go on to state, yeah, more or less, I'm not so good, but we're glad that you came here, Cabba. As they go on to state that huge key we felt is still inside the ship. As Cabba goes on to state, leave that to me. You guys should hurry up and leave this place now. Out of nowhere through the rubble, we see how the henchmen re-emerge, and they go on to state, don't forget about us. We're still hanging around, and we're in perfectly good shape for some payback. As Cabba replies by stating, these assholes just don't give up. My comrades have suffered a lot of damage, and I don't have any time to waste. Let's make this quick. As right through Cabba and his friends, we see how 2 energy blasts go hurtling past them and destroying the henchmen that were standing in front of him. As Cabba goes on to state, what the hell was that? All 4 Saiyans turn around and they see a very familiar hand sticking out as Bleed goes on to state, your opponents are just a bunch of fucking monkeys. How pitiful of you, and you have the nerve to cause me to even lift a single finger. As at long last we see how Bleed emerges from the ship, killing off his henchmen, just basically for embarrassing not only his reputation, but the fact that they lost to simple-minded monkeys. As all of the Saiyans go on to state, Frost, wait no, that's definitely someone else. As Cabba goes on to state, I feel like he's hiding most of his power, and he's hiding so much of it, why? What's happening? As Bleed goes on to state, Saiyans, I am Bleed. Frost is my younger brother. It's only natural that we look similar, of course. As Cabba goes on to state, Frost's older brother? As Nijin goes on to state, that doesn't matter. It doesn't matter what you look like, what you sound like, you shouldn't have come to this planet. As Bleed responds by saying, my only goal is the Dragon Balls. Do you know of them? They're little spheres, you know. As Cabba goes on to state, why are you asking us about this? As Bleed goes on to state, why? Because I'm going to get the Dragon Balls to grant me eternal life. Shall we have a talk about what you know? As Cabba goes on to state, we don't know anything, and even if we did, we wouldn't tell someone like you. And Bleed begins to get very angry and stating, I see. So die then. And that's when we go back to Universe 7 as Goku goes on to state, so what happened after you got banged up? As the Kaioshin of Universe 6 goes on to state, I can feel a crisis coming that would affect the entire universe, so I had to visit Earth. I found him there with his life just hanging in the balance. I couldn't allow him to just be killed, so I teleported him here. As Cabba is shaken up by saying I can still help them, I just have to. We're all Saiyans, as Vegeta goes on to state, how pitiful. You don't even sound like you're sure. You won't be able to save anyone if you're so half-hearted. As Cabba goes on to state, yes, master. As Vegeta retorts by saying, if those bastards lay a hand on me, I will kill them. Now, let's hurry up and get this together. And Goku's like, Vegeta? Cabba's like, really? As the Kaioshin goes on to state, regretfully, our universe has no warriors that can compare to the likes of all of you. At that tournament, you all proved yourselves quite strong. After witnessing that, we know that you can save us. As Goku goes on to state, well, I mean, you don't have to worry about a thing then. As Vegeta responds by saying, don't get the wrong idea. I couldn't care less about what happens to another universe, but it pisses me off to watch Saiyans be pushed around like that. As Goku walks up to Cabba and saying, I'll go too. These guys sound pretty tough, and I want to fight them. And Bulma's like, wait a second, you guys. You're running off to save another universe's problem, and we're only just going to be left here just to worry about you idiots? Because I'm not stupid. I know that all of you really want to fight too, and the first person that actually comes up to Bulma and saying, no, not really, is Yamcha, because he goes on to state, well, come on, Bulma. I mean, Cabba is in trouble, and those two can really help, but I mean, we're all okay, right? And Goku goes on to tell Chi-Chi, don't worry, Chi-Chi, I'll be back before you know it. And Cabba's really happy because now he actually has the aid of Goku and Vegeta to handle this universal problem in Universe 6. As Vegeta goes on to state, we can bring your fallen comrades back to life. But in order to do that, we need to go to where the 4-star Dragon Ball is. And Cabba's like, Master Vegeta. And Goku's like, great idea. As the Kaioshin takes them to Universe 6, we have the narration pan back to Universe 6 as it goes on to state Universe 6's Earth has arrived at its largest crisis yet, in the form of Bleed's overwhelming power. Son Goku and Vegeta will now face him. What will be the fate of this universe? Now for me, I really did enjoy seeing what took place in Universe 6 and having to build a specific story to where Cabba was basically rendered defenseless, but I did not agree with the idea that Cabba needed to directly go to Universe 7 for the assistance of Goku and Vegeta to help him out with his problem. I'm not sure if Cabba forgot, but Kale and Caulifla do reside in his universe, so it would have been beneficial for Cabba to request their aid first, as opposed to just directly asking Goku and Vegeta. It would have made more sense to see Kale, Caulifla, and Cabba get beaten down, but I really did enjoy the nature of this story because it reminds me personally of Cooler and Frieza, and I think that when you look at this objectively, it it does have a good narrative in having this individual tell his own henchmen that after Earth he wants to go directly to planet Sadala, and it was really cool seeing King Sadala, who looks just like Vegeta, and I really do like the concept of Cabba having to protect Earth, even though the sole purpose of him doing so is to guard the Dragon Balls. I cannot wait to see what's going to happen next, and if you guys can't wait either, then make sure you guys go ahead and punch that subscribe button and enable all notifications, because you guys are going to be the first to find out what happens during volume number 2 once the second chapter is released. But I want to know what you guys have to say down in the comment section below. Thank you all so much for watching, guys. Once more, if you guys are new to this channel, punch that subscribe button, enable all notifications, tune back in for more if you guys enjoyed. Make sure you guys go ahead and slap a big fat like on the video, and I'll be seeing each and every single one of you guys down in the comment section below. Have a great day, everybody. Peace.
This is the Galactic Emperor of the Universe, and of course I'm here to tell you to subscribe to UnrealEntGaming and all his social media platforms. Also, don't forget to turn on notifications so you can be the first to know every time that he uploads a new video.
Oh, did someone say UnrealEntGaming? Oh my god!
The fuck, someone? Put on some clothes!
Well, why don't you put on any clothes?
What? I don't need clothes. Jesus Christ, that's huge!